Okay friends, I want to make a quick video on the 7 ways that the public schooling system sneakily, subtly traumatizes autistic and neurodivergent children. Let's get straight into it, but first a little intro on me. Public school was super brutal for me. I was diagnosed with autism when I was very little, and definitely more of the dreamy, imaginative type. And getting through the public schooling system, I really had to fit myself into a certain shape and force and push through just like really uncomfortable situations, and it ended up being kind of damaging for me. So now I'm in my mid-20s, I'm doing the healing work, I'm revisiting my limiting beliefs, and I'm bringing a lot more peace and self-love to myself. And so by looking at the public schooling system and looking at all of its different flaws, it can be very healing because it kind of uncovers the ways in which you might have believed in the past that you were broken or flawed or crazy for not fitting into this system, when really the system itself was kind of crazy and definitely not cut out for, I think, the average person in my eyes, but definitely not neurodivergents or autistics. The first way that the public schooling system traumatizes us is by not rewarding effort or having the right intention. It only rewards doing the correct behavior, getting the correct answer. That is when you get rewarded. That's when the check mark or the grade comes. But the process of getting there is not rewarded. And this is an issue because this can be very demotivating for children. Like if they're not getting it, but they are really trying to learn this thing. But if they don't get it, or if they don't do it at the level that's expected of them at that certain time, they're not rewarded, and it just becomes frustrating and defeating. And so it's actually much better to just reward the right intention. If a child wants to learn it, if a child is doing their best, that deserves to be rewarded, because also learning is fun. Learning is a process, and for some it takes longer than others. We have strengths in various ways. So it's important to reward the intention that the child has. That is most important. The number 2 way that public school traumatizes us is by having it be so sedentary with no movement. I mean, think of this. Our ancestors, just humanity as a whole, did not evolve by sitting in seats for hours a day, especially not kids. I mean, kids are supposed to be running around. They're supposed to be exploring the forest. They're supposed to be, helping out with things. I mean, they're nimble, they're energetic, they're full of life and creativity, and we're just forcing them to sit down. I used to always take the bathroom pass as much as I could, because not even because I wanted to go to the bathroom, but no, because I just had to move around. So I think it definitely makes someone just very uncomfortable to force them to sit for so long. That is a very controlling environment, and that can be very traumatic. Number 3 is having a strong emphasis on STEM and not enough on creative arts. So STEM, for whoever doesn't know, is science, technology, engineering, and math. If you couldn't already tell, these are very left-brained activities. It's very algorithmic. It's, has a lot to do with numbers, and they're very rigid fields, which are great fields, but forcing a child to put so much energy into these fields, and then maybe only having like an art class and an English class, and that's it, is not conducive to creating a holistic education. And it's not even that, the learning of this is uneven. It's also that it's like lightly suggested that the arts are not practical. I don't really have specific examples of this, but definitely growing up in Silicon Valley, STEM was pushed to the limit. And it's pretty brutal because we're not all carved out for that. And in fact, this doesn't work our intuition or creativity. This just works the left brain. So again, being forced into this is very difficult, And being forced to learn this and then being punished if you don't learn these things, that's very hard. Number 4 is not letting us choose our setup. Again, we're forced to sit down in these wooden desks, and the things that we could customize that would actually give kids freedom and comfortability is maybe, I don't know, letting them have background music, letting them sit around different parts of the classroom, letting them lounge if they need to, letting them stretch, letting kids go outside if they need to. Just let them choose their setup. Let them choose exactly what they want to do. By forcing children into that same confined space every day, again, you're not giving them choices, you're forcing them to adhere to things. And this is not how humans are meant to be. Number 5 is that there's no trust given, especially to the younger children. Look, kids are actually very creative. If you've ever left kids alone with Legos, they end up creating amazing things. And this is just one of those things that schools do not do. No, it's do this assignment, get in a line, do this, do that. But kids actually have naturally very social abilities. They can work on projects together. I've learned this by working at a summer camp. If you tell a kid, hey, be the leader, like get your friends together and do this, they will find a way to do that. But no, by not giving them trust, it can be very disempowering. And trust is not given throughout academia, trust is something that slowly builds up over time, but ultimately academia is just built around, sit in this class, follow this curriculum, and go home. The number 6 on this list is teacher-centered learning. So not student-centered learning, teacher-centered learning. And the way this looks is by having the teacher be the guru, the role model, the person that everyone should sort of model. This teacher is the know-it-all. This teacher is the source of all authority. And if you don't adhere to this teacher's lessons and you can't learn from this teacher's way of being, well, then, yeah, mama, if you can't adhere to this teacher's way, then guess what? You fall behind. So they pretty much tell you to be a disciple of this teacher. And this teacher is a person. They're flawed and they're allowed to be flawed. But the way that the system is set up is that students need to hand over all their authority to this teacher, pretty much. The number 7 reason why schools traumatize neurodivergent and autistic children is that mechanistic outlook on the world that we're all conditioned into. Now, if you went to a Christian school or a religious school, then you were probably taught to have a presumption about the universe based on that religion. But in most public schools, you're taught to see the world in a physicalist and mechanistic way. All humans are machines, all biological life works akin to a machine, and everything is just atoms physically bumping and repelling from each other. And this is just the outlook on life that we're conditioned into. And this is very damaging for autistic and neurodivergent people, because then when we end up getting diagnosed with the label of a disorder, we're pretty much being told that this body-machine thing is broken, is malfunctioning, it's not normal. So this rigid adherence to this mechanistic outlook on the world is again very limiting, and it just creates a very limited view of who you are, which you are a being with infinite potential. You have goals, you have aspirations, you have intuition. You have so much more to you than these physical parts. So believe that. And those are the 7 reasons. I think public school could be much better by rewarding all efforts, by rewarding all learning styles, by including and accepting all children, regardless of where they are, and by giving choice and trust. This is why I'm a big fan of Montessori-style schools, other private school styles, is because it's not regimented. It's project-based, it's play-based, and self-guided. The more you can incorporate that into a student's curriculum, not only will they come out of school less traumatized, but they will be much more creatively aligned, they'll be much more authentic, and they will probably have stronger specific skills that are inherent to them. You're not crazy. The public schooling system is just messed up. Let me know what your public schooling experience was down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.